Yo, yo. Testing, 1 2. Testing 1 2. Make sure the level's straight. What's wavy? I am your host, MoonVibes, and today we have a jam-packed show scheduled for you. As you can see, I got a little preview going on over there, what you can expect. A mock draft, but today we have another episode of Fantasy Vibes podcast for you, exclusively on Twitch. Now, if you don't know about Fantasy Vibes, I started Fantasy Vibes last year, and we cultivated it on this great platform, Twitch. Only we were streaming on the Real Ones Productions account, and you can see over there to my right, um, maybe your left, all the different ways that you can support us. And Real Ones Productions is definitely taking over. But check us out on all of our socials, and definitely come and ride this wave. But I started Fantasy Vibes on this platform, and Real Ones Productions gave me the opportunity to give my fantasy insight for the community, for everybody that's out there that wants it. Because let's be real, the fantasy football community has been taking all the way off for the last couple of years, the last couple of decades, to be honest. It's just grown and grown and grown in popularity. And fun fact, did you know that fantasy football actually makes more and generates more revenue than the actual National Football League of all 32 teams combined in one season? Fantasy football is popular, ladies and gentlemen. It's popular. And that's the reason why I want to invite you in to come tune into the Fantasy Vibes podcast exclusively on Twitch. Now, the upload will be on YouTube as well. Make sure you check it out. Subscribe on our Real Ones Productions YouTube. Today's episode, what do we have? We have Fact or Fiction. I'm going to tell you some news is going on, whether to believe it or not, whether to call it fact, or whether to fade it and just look at it as plain fiction. We got Moon's mailbag. I got some questions that need to be answered from the Twitter sphere. You don't want to miss that. Then also, I have the main entree. We're going to be doing a mock draft today, and I'm actually going to be doing. This is going to be the first of many mock drafts to help you get prepared. And I'm going to be unveiling different strategies with you over the course of the next couple of weeks, to get you really prepared so that you're ready to win your fantasy football championships. Now, the goal in fantasy football is to outscore your opponents every single week, even in the playoffs. Now, that's important, and it's crucial for you to know, because not only is it life or death when it comes to you surviving and advancing, but you can't win if you don't outscore your opponent. So we are going to create the best lineups, and that's soon to come on this episode of Fantasy Vibes. But just like always, you know me, I got to start my episode off speaking from the chest, speaking from the heart, right? With the episode in the segment I like to call Real Talk, presented by Real Ones Productions. And we'll get into that right after this short break. You're listening to me, Moon Vibes, here live on Twitch. This is Fantasy Vibes. Real talk. Say it with your chest. I've been hearing a lot of people talking about this next player that I'm going to mention. And I don't want to tell you I told you so, but I told you so. News broke today, recently, that it's not official. It's not official, at least reported by the New Orleans Saints. But Jameis Winston is now scheduled to be the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. Clap it up for Jameis. Let's go, Jameis. No, for real. Clap it up. Gotta be happy for the guy. Now, the reason why this is important, because all throughout the off season, I've heard all types of hoopla about this guy. Jameis Winston don't deserve to be the starting quarterback. Moon vibes. Like, he just sat a year behind Drew Brees. He threw 30 interceptions in a season. Again, he just sat a year behind Drew Brees, one of the most accurate passers in NFL history. Of course, it's going to rub off on him. It's like the classic adage: You are the company that you keep. Birds of a feather flock together. If you catch my drift. Now, we eating dubs. Now, I gotta give other side before I get into my real talk. I have to give the other side of the game, and the other side of the game is this: Taysom Hill does look better when it comes to passing the ball. Just his throwing mechanics. His throwing mechanics, I love it. It's you see the jump, you see the progression. But I talked to y'all about this before, and I said it in a series of tweets that I retweeted today. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, all you gotta do is check me out right up there, right over there, FF MoonVibes, for all the latest and the greatest from me on there. Now, I put out these tweets about a month ago when everything was happening full speed and nobody knew anything certain. Only thing we know is that Michael Thomas was dealing with an injury that he didn't want to tell the team about for real, and then he opted to get surgery on that injury, which led to him being out. Now, my theory is, I think that Michael Thomas was, you know, drinking the Kool-Aid of Sean Payton and realized how much in love Sean Payton actually is with Taysom Hill, because it's an ego thing with coaches. You know what I'm saying? They want to pick their guy and win with their guy so they can go around the league and say, I told you so. This is the same coach from Bounty Gate. Like, this is the same coach like that's out to prove something. Um so it didn't really surprise me, but he was adamant, at least early, that Taysom Hill was going to get his fair chance to win this starting quarterback job. And let's just be honest and keep it a whole buck. I think Michael Thomas heard that news and said, nope, I'm going to be out. Now, to his displeasure, it didn't end up working out that way. So now he still has to miss the beginning of the season, but he comes back with a new quarterback at the helm. Yeah, I'm talking about Jameis Winston, former first overall pick. Now, I had a debate with a real close friends of mine last night about what is the category. What how do you categorize a bust? What do you look at a bust as? Like, for me, a bust is if I had a chance to go back in the draft, and this counts as fantasy football, regular football, anything. If I had the chance to go back in the draft and pick another player at the spot that I took him at, given everything that happened in the season or given anything that happened, that developed, would I still take that player again? If the answer is yes, he's not a bust. If his answer is no, then that means that he is a bust. Now, I don't really equate injuries to being bust. That just means that you're fragile. You're fragile. Like, we got to wrap you in bubble wrap. That's all that means. It doesn't mean that you are incapable of being a player that is productive. You know what I'm saying? It just means that you get hurt. So I'm not gonna equate that as far as bust. But a bust to me is, ladies and gentlemen, when you have a chance to go back into the hands of time, rewind, and then say to yourself gonna say, would you take this player again? And the answer, if it's no, that means this is a bust. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if they can go back and do history all over again, I'm pretty sure that they would still take Jameis Winston again at that spot. Why? Because he was extremely productive in his seasons there, specifically his first 4 seasons there. Like, I know he gets a lot of rap about, oh my gosh, well, he throws a lot of picks and he can't see out of one eye and he can't see at all and he needs LASIK surgery and all this other stuff. But let's just be honest. Jameis was lighting it up. He might not have done that to the furthest extent at FSU, but hey, let's call a spade a spade. Jameis was turnover prone at FSU. Shoot, Jameis was turnover prone in high school. This is nothing new. It only got magnified on a greater scale in the NFL. Now, that leads me to Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, it's nothing against you, Playboy. I promise you. I still wish you the best, and I know that you're still going to be involved in this offense. You're totally not faded out of the picture, but I do think that Sean Payton is going to develop certain packages for Taysom Hill, just because he wants to keep him involved in the game plan. Just because, like I said, mentioned earlier, hey, you want to be that coach to say, hey, I picked this guy and I developed him and I turned him into X, Y, and Z, and now he's this for us, for our team. Ha! Told you so. I told you I can win with this guy. This is what Sean Payton, at least what I think, and there's no happier person in the world right now than Alvin Kamara, because not only did he have a solidified offensive line, now he has a chance to be in a position where Jameis is the starter, and he doesn't have to worry about the struggles that he had to endure with Taysom last year. If you're sitting there saying, "Hey, Moon, well, Taysom was pretty good last year," I would say this: the New Orleans Saints rushed back Drew Brees from 11 fractured ribs in order to come back right before the playoffs started, just so they can be in contention for the playoff race. They rushed him back. If Taysom Hill was that guy and he was that good last year, let's just be real, would the Saints have rushed him back? Now, I know there was a lot going on last year. COVID year. That's what we're going to start off in quotation marks every time. The classic COVID year. But let's just call a spade a spade. A diamond a diamond. A queen a queen. A king a king. And Taysom. It is what it is. Taysom is Taysom. I'm going to read you something that I put out on Twitter. And this happened a long time ago. But I drilled this point home today. And it says, the mystery case of Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara's value is solved with the inclusion of Jameis Winston in the offense. Think about it. Taysom Hill is a player that is gifted with the ball in his hands. That's an offense where the value of others, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Adam Trotman, Marquez Callaway, Traquan Smith, my bad. Who else do you have? Juwan Johnson. All of those are limited because of Taysom Hill's inability, based on what we've seen so far, to get his playmakers involved outside of just himself. Now, you might be like, well, Moon, simplify that in layman's terms. Jameis is a passer known for being a gunslinger. He's going to spread the ball out. Is he the most accurate? No. Is he the best decision maker? Hell no. But he's willing to push the ball down the field. Taysom has not shown in the history of him playing in this league that he has the ability to push the ball down the field. You want me to prove it to you? Sure. I thought you would never ask. Now, Jameis has a situation where Jameis has passed for 4,000 yards multiple times in his career. He even has a 5,000 yard season. Taysom Hill, on the other hand, has yet to put up 1,000 passing yards in 3 total seasons of his illustrious career. That's total. Actually, Taysom Hill does have over 1,000 passing yards for his career total, but he is yet to throw for over 1,000 passing yards in a single season. That's 1,000. Patrick Mahomes get that in 2 games. Let him play the Falcons and let him play the Cowboys. He already has that on lock, right? That's my point. And that's what I start off this real talk by telling you. Everybody is going to get a boost up. Alvin Kamara is going to get a boost up. Michael Thomas, whenever he comes back, is going to get a boost up. You have to know this. Adam Trotman, whenever he gets back from his injury, boost up. Juwan Johnson, boost up. Callaway. Now, I said this earlier on Twitter. Pump your brakes. Marquez Callaway is nice, but he is not slant boy. He is not slant boy, a.k.a. Michael Thomas. He's not. I want you to know this. I want to be as genuine as possible when I say that, because there's no hate or no shade towards Marquez Callaway. It's just we know a dog when we see a dog. And Michael Thomas, regardless of him running slants or digs, or really, he runs way more routes in the route tree than we give him credit for. Let's just be honest. But he's the number 1 wide receiver on his team, and that's not going to change when he gets back. And until he gets back, I look at Alvin Kamara to be used as the number 1 wide receiver on his team, just because he's going to get a lot of yards. Taysom Hill has 1,047 passing yards in 17 games started and only 4 touchdowns. Jameis Winston, on the other hand, has 19,812 yards with 121 touchdowns and 88 interceptions. You heard that right. 88 interceptions. You're like, Moon, 88? Yes. I did not make that stat up. 88. So, Saints fans, I asked this question a long time ago. I said, hey, Saints fans, do you want the better distributing quarterback for an offense, or do you want the highlight reel? You have to take your choice. Taysom Hill only has 4 passing touchdowns in 17 career games, and people have been trying to convince you, the public, which I love, by the way, appreciate everybody tuning in, that he is the guy that you should go with in fantasy vibes, in fantasy football. And my argument has always been, no. This is a guy that they had in the tight end position last year. Like, are we really just getting caught up in hype or what we want to believe is going to happen instead of addressing it? I tell you all the time on Fantasy Vibes, on the podcast, listen, narrative means everything in sports and just in life in general. Narratives, what the media puts out there, what they want you to know. Because there's a such thing as the truth and there's a such thing as the whole truth. So help me God. The truth is that although the offense may be better with Taysom Hill from the standpoint of him being a quality quarterback 2, QB1 in fantasy, what that means in layman's terms is that if you finish in the top 1 through 12, that's a quarterback 1 in fantasy. If you finish 13 through 24, that's a quarterback 2, and so on and so on. It goes break down in groups of 12. Taysom Hill would fit in that high-end QB2, low-end QB1 range, right around the 13 to about 17, 18 range, just based on what we've seen from him last year. And what was it based off of? Rushing production. So he would increase his value for himself. But my point has always been, yes, he increases his value for himself, but Jameis increases the value of everybody. Just look at what happened Monday night. If you watched the game Monday night or checked out the highlights via Real Ones Productions, shout out to you. You goated. Jameis lit it up early and often, and he only played a couple of series. He was out before we even got hot dogs, burgers, and nachos from the concession stands. In fact, the game was pretty much over because Trevor Lawrence really couldn't do anything because he didn't get no help. Didn't get any help. Let's just be real. I start off today's podcast, episode 6 to be exact, talking about the new news that Jameis is a starting quarterback. I personally love it. I'm not going to sit here and jump on the island saying, hey, look, I told you so. Hey, you should have listened to me. Hey, I'm Moon, and, occasionally I get some of these right. But on a day like this, where I'm feeling right, and I get a little high-quality H2O, in the words of Bobby Boucher, water sucks. It really, really sucks. Water. I'm just kidding. I just want to let you know. Today, let's say this. Before today, the Saints situation, what they've been dealing with was as far as their salary cap, their roster being extremely top-heavy, everything they've been dealing with, it just led me to think to myself, you know what? This is an ugly situation. When you hear all the reports coming out about Michael Thomas and how he's not reporting and he has beef with the franchise and all this other stuff, I'm just like, yo, this is ugly. I'm not touching none of it. QB battle, the only really true quarterback competition in the league right now. I'm saying I'm staying away from all of this. I'm fading all of this. But on a day like this, we're happy. Why? Because Jameis Winston is now the starting quarterback. He gets another chance. And a side note, just to make you think. Who was the quarterback that Drew Brees went to in his very last game to tell them that they are now the holder of the keys for the franchise? Let me know who that quarterback was. Was it Taysom? No, it wasn't. And that's just honest. That's just real. That's real talk. Presented by Real Ones Productions. Coming up next, we got Fact or Fiction right after this short break. You're tuning into Real Ones Productions special presentation of Fantasy Vibes here live on Twitch. Yeah, he said, don't forget the James interview when they were talking about his 30 touchdowns, 30 interception season. He said, eliminate the interceptions, I'm balling. He was right. He was right. Let's just call a spade a spade. Now, appreciate everybody tuning in. This is the Fantasy Vibes podcast, and I'm your host, Moon Vibes. I fell in love with fantasy football in probably 2016 when I was going through a deep depression. It gave me an outlet to be able to channel my frustrations into something that ended up being productive for me. Now, I would love to say that I was playing fantasy football extremely heavy before then. I played it a little bit here and there, but ever since 2016, I've been like locked in, and I decided to start giving y'all my content and giving y'all my fantasy expertise because I'm not an analyst, I'm not an expert, I'm just Moon Vibes. I started giving y'all this because I felt like the demand was needed. It was at a good place, and the supply was overflowing. So why not give y'all the best content that I personally can muster up? This season, we have a lot in store for you. Whole new show, whole new segments. Some of the same segments that you fell in love with last year, like Locked Up, Press Start, Put Me In, Coach, and we might even sprinkle a little bit of Vibestradamus in there. You never know. But on today's episode, I have Fact or Fiction coming up really soon because we have to decipher the unknown. Because you winning a fantasy football championship this year is not going to be based on how much podcast you listen to, even this one. It's not going to be based on anything else. How much YouTube videos you binge, how many NFL lives you check out, how many episodes of the Fantasy Pro Football Focus show with Matthew Berry, Stephania Bell, Phil Yates, or how much you listen to the fantasy Twitter community. It's all going to be based on all the information that you soak in, all that's coming from different angles, coming from different sides, and it's coming to you, and you have to now say, self, and yourself says, what do we believe as true, and what do we believe as the whole truth? So help me God. Coming up next, we have Fact or Fiction. It was recently posted that Ryan Tannehill, Tennessee Titans quarterback Ryan Tannehill, a.k.a. Tanner Daddy, a.k.a. Jumpman Jordan celebration and I almost tear my ACL, a.k.a. a QB1 that needs to have more respect on his name, a.k.a. the guy that hands the ball off to Derrick Henry, a.k.a. the Miami Dolphins past now. I bet you ask Dolphins fans, would you rather have Ryan Tannehill or Tua Tagovailoa? That's a good question. Ryan Tannehill, all jokes aside, has been placed on the reserve COVID-19 list as of Thursday, August 26th. There's still time for him to come back before the season opener, but it's kind of making me temper my expectations for him this year. And I have him in that high quarterback 2 range, low quarterback 1. So right around that 12 to 15 range. That's what I'm looking at Ryan Tannehill right now. I think that's based on floor. Ceiling? I think Ryan Tannehill can be a top seven, top six fantasy quarterback easily, especially with Julio Jones now there. We have Derrick Henry still going to be in an offense without Arthur Smith calling the plays. I know, Steve. I know. What's up? What's wavy, y'all? And also, you can't forget that guy AJ Brown, Arthur Juan Brown, is still there, and he's still saucy. Now, the tight end position, Fertsker, Fertzer, Fertsker. I'm still trying to figure out how to say his name. Anthony. I'm still kind of like on the fence with him. Josh Reynolds, solid pickup. I like it. But what does this Tennessee Titans offense look like? That's a question that we're going to have to decipher. Fact or fiction? Will Brian Tannehill be back before the season opener, taking on the Arizona Cardinals? If I'm not mistaken, I say fact. He'll be out there. He'll be out there. He still has some time. I think it'll be more than enough time. Now, will he be balling? I don't know. I don't know. You gotta wait. What? Yeah, you gotta wait technically 9 days in quarantine before you be back. Nah, Dolphins fans would rather have Deshaun Kaiser. You know, you know. Best receiver of the 2021 Patriots team would ever see, aka glorified wide receiver. You actually live or just a vid? I'm live. What's wavy, y'all? His name is ASAP Ferk. Well, we're gonna call this man ASAP Ferk then. Shout out to the Twitch. Shout out to the Twitch community. That's my first fact or fiction. Coming up next, Jalen the journalist team, the New England Patriots. Quarterback Cam Newton is back at practice Thursday, August 26th, after his 5-day cadence due absence, I should say, due to COVID-19 protocols. Now, I get it. It might look like he's slipping. In a battle for this quarterback position, it looks like it's still up in the air. We don't know what he's gonna bring to the table in this third preseason game. That's really where all the money is made. Who gets to start in snaps? I mean, just for pure rhythm, I would say go with Cam. But if I'm really trying to evaluate Mac Jones, I have no better chance to do that than this week. Mac Jones has been very impressive this preseason, especially last game, dicing up the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, Eagles fans, it's nothing personal. It's nothing, but y'all didn't show up and y'all didn't come to play. And Mac Jones took over where Mac Jones took over where Cam Newton left off and lighten you up. The Patriots play the Giants on Sunday. They play on Sunday at 6 p.m. And I'm sure that Cam will be out there. He'll have a couple of practices under his belt. And it'll be interesting to see who gets the bulk of them snaps. Now, my gut feeling, I already told you. But this is big news, at least for me, because this shows that Cam Newton was not vaccinated. And I know people are a lot of people are coming out and saying that they're disappointed in Cam. I think the disappointment is more so stemming from, like, you're the QB1. So, like, if something happens with you, then now Mac Jones is just thrusted into the starting lineup. And now you are, jeopardizing a win for us and our team because you are not vaccinated. And it wasn't even like he did anything off the radar. If you look deeper into the story, it was just like a conflicting thing with the tests that they have, like taking tests off campus. Now, like, there's more news is coming out with Cam where recently it was reported that Mac Jones has shown the week-to-week, day-to-day, play-to-play competency to win the starting job over Cam. Now, there's no on-field reason that Cam should ever take a meaningful regular season snap for the Patriots while Mac Jones is upright and able. Now, I understand that the COVID mishap kind of like muddied the waters for this QB battle, and I don't want to call it a QB battle because to me it's really not. I've been saying Cam is a starter. Cam should be the starter, and just let him see what he can do in year 2 with the full off season. But Coach Bill Belichick will roll with the rookie over the veteran, and I don't put it past him. If I had to say a 50-50 chance, what do y'all say? I, I'm leaning 50-50, but it really is kind of up in the air. And I think this third preseason game is going to have a lot to do with it. But I would be totally asinine if I just said that it would have all to do with it because they've been evaluating this since offseason. since OTAs, since mini camps, all of that. They've been taking into account how they've been handling it. And ultimately, I trust whatever Bill Belichick is going to do. I'm higher on the Patriots than most this year, but I'm not going to get into that. I'll save that for another episode. Um, but that's what is up in the news. Fact or fiction? Cam Newton will be the starting quarterback week 1 against the Miami Dolphins. I say fact. I say fact. Cam has looked sharp. Yes, he has to take some velocity off his throws and just know how to be accurate. You know what I'm saying? Not have to have every pass be a pitch of 100 miles per hour, but he still has a cannon. Still has a cannon. Mac Jones has some zip on that ball too. I'm just gonna keep it a buck with you. But at the same time, do I see him losing the job just because of a COVID mishap where you now have to like contact trace? No. But just to put this in your mind, just to make you think, these unvaccinated quarterbacks in particular, it's really going to apply to all positions all across the board. But it's really going to be a next man up type of atmosphere this year because all it takes is one COVID test for the Buffalo Bills to be starting Mitch Trubisky and Jake Kummerow. You never thought you would say that, but all it takes is one COVID test to come back positive for Josh Allen for it to go that way. Meanwhile, Cole Beasley is over there. Just never mind. Fact or fiction? Coming up next, let me get to the chat real quick. I don't know. I think McDaniels is going to want Mac to start. Interesting. Eagles got shot out of the sky last week. Facts. Cam the starter, but they know who they want to be the future quarterback. Won't take much time for Cam to get benched. I think that he will be on a short leash. I think that the same type of leniency they had last year will not be the case this year because they expect him to be better. They're counting on him to be better. I put my money where my mouth is and saying that Cam is going to not only be better but be productive in his offense. And I know they don't have the most talented receiving core. And I'm not even going to get into NH. I'm not going to say his name. I'm just going to say NH. And not even going to get into him or Jacoby Myers, all that. But I just think that the use of the tight ends this year is going to be dope. And their defense is just going to be better. A lot of opt-outs and those players coming back is going to make a difference. And Patriots, they have a lot to be looking forward to, especially if you're a fan. I know. Y'all are tough on yourself because y'all got championships galore. But look, as a Falcons fan, I would hope to have championships one day. I don't know if it's going to happen, but coming up in other news, Najee Harris is actually going to be held out of tonight's game on Friday, August 25th. And he's going to be held out tonight's game. And if I'm not mistaken, who do they play? I have to see. Hold on. Let me look real quick. I just texted Brad this not that long ago. They play the Panthers. Panthers got an interesting defense out there. So I don't blame them. They already played him 3 games so far. So, he's already shown everything that he needed to. And I think Mike Tomlin is being smart here. Now, I expect Najee Harris to be a 3-down running back this year for the Steelers, and I expect them to see a lot of touches, a lot of implied touches versus touches. So your touches is your targets mixed with your carries. Implied touches showcase more of offense's intent to use you in the scheme of the offense. It lets you know when they were actually trying to get this player the ball. So it is taking in your targets. It's also taking in your carries, and touches it's taking in like your receptions. It's not taking in your targets into that. Implied touches is taking into your targets and your carries. So how many times you were targeted, and then also how many times that you carried the rock for a running back in this example. Now, Najee, I expect his to be through the roof. And I think that if you're in Dynasty, why wouldn't you take him first round? He looks like a clear option to just be the running back of the future. I get it. Especially if you're not in the Superflex Dynasty League. Why not take Najee Harris in the first round? I could totally understand it. Even one of the wide receivers that we see going crazy, probably the number 1 pick out off the board in Dynasty as a wide receiver is probably Justin Jefferson. But Najee, I would be tempted to take Najee over a lot of running backs in Dynasty. To start it off, if we talk about the big name guys just off the market, and we have to choose between Jonathan Taylor or a Najee Harris or Jonathan Taylor, a Najee Harris. We have to choose between who else? A Joe Mixon, Antonio Gibson would be a better example. J.K. Dobbins, CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Give me Najee. I'll take him, and I'll probably be happy with that. Now, injuries will be a concern, but I mean that's the nature of the beast when you play in running back position. He's being held out of his game this week, so that's what you can expect on that side of things. Now, coming up next in the show, Fact or Fiction. Will Najee be a top 12 fantasy running back this year? I say yes, but barely. Um, I say he'd probably be in like that 10 to a 12 range, more so than the range where I see a lot of people taking him like in the 8, 9, 10. Like I see him more in 11, 12 range. And I know that might not seem like a far gap, but I mean, if you're a top 3 running back, the Christian McCaffreys, Dalvin Cooks, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, if you want to interchange them, there's so many question marks around Saquon right now for me to put him in there. I'll put Zeke in there too. But if you are one of those running backs, your workload is pretty much guaranteed. We don't know what the workload is going to really truly be like for Najee until we get into the season. And that's the reason why I'm kind of a little bit skeptical. Not because of his talent, not because I think that he's going to be a bomb pass catcher, or not even because I think he's going to get busy on all 3 downs. I just think that we just don't know yet. And I might change my tune when I see the first game against the Buffalo Bills. Coming up next in the show, we got Zach Wilson. He's likely going to play a few series tonight in their game. And I want to say that they take on the Eagles, so it'll be Zach Wilson versus Jalen Hurts. But let's just be honest, Zach Wilson played amazing over these last couple of games. And the game against Green Bay was just like just perfect. Like his pocket awareness, his pocket presence. It looked like he'd been here before. It looked like he was not rushed. He was not, flustered. He made a throw that he rolled out to the pocket on the right hand side, launched it down the field to Corey Davis, who basically received all of his targets, like, which was ridiculous. His target share was ridiculous. And he just threw it effortlessly, and that's when A-Rod came out and said, "Hey, look, this guy, he's built different." In my words, he's built different. But according to head coach Robert Salah, he's only going to get a few series tonight. So don't expect too much from Zach Wilson tonight. Now, as far as Zach Wilson, he's going to be the top quarterback for the Jets on the depth chart, and I just like the way what they did. It's not like the Bears situation with Matt Nagy, a.k.a. Aggie Nagy, where you draft Justin Fields and then you still have Danny Dalton in here making promises to him that you're going to play him. I don't think this is the same situation. It's like the New York Jets totally cleared out everything for Zach Wilson to be our guy, and this is who we're going with. There's no competition needed. Or if you look at like the San Francisco 49ers in their situation with Trey Lance, like and the Jimmy G debacle or Chronicles, depending on how you look at it, like Zach Wilson's coming in as the guy, and he has every chance to prove that. And if you're in a Superflex league, I would highly recommend taking Zach Wilson and not even reaching on none of these quarterbacks that's out here, like the Baker Mayfields, even though I think he'll be a little bit better. The Matt Ryans or that. I'll say take a chance. Why not go with the Rook? And if you fall in there in rounds 5 through, let's say, 8, I would take him if you're in Superflex. Now, if you're in one quarterback leagues, you can pick him up off your waiver wire. You don't have to reach and spend a draft pick on them. Let's just be honest. But it would be enticing, and I wouldn't have to draft the top quarterbacks off my board or reach for a top quarterback when I can just get Zach Wilson because I think that he'll be good. Another sleeper is Corey Davis. His target share looks ridiculous. He looks like the clear number 1 option on his team. And Zach Wilson seems to have a nice rapport with them, as you like to see with a new rookie quarterback and a wide receiver that they can trust. Corey Davis, instant rise. Now, this Jets situation is just like, I don't know what to make of it as far as the running back positions. They got Tevin Coleman, Tyler Johnson, Michael Carter. Like, it's just a mess. I really don't know. But I do know that they're going to run the ball, so all of them may see some type of value. And they lucky that they don't have Frank Gore, because Frank Gore would have messed all of it up. That's the news coming on Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson, I don't really have a fact or fiction for him, but that's what you need to know about Zach Wilson. Coming up next, we got about two more in fact or fiction. Detroit Lions tight end T.J. Hawkinson, who has been going off the draft boards right around like the fifth, sixth, maybe even seventh round, depending on how deep your league is. He's been dealing with the AC joint issue, according to head coach Dan Campbell. And Dan Campbell said that he isn't worried about Hawkinson's availability for week one. So if he's not worried, then you might be like, well, Moon, you shouldn't be worried either. Wrong. I'm not. Because this AC joint issue is something that we've been seeing around the league. And I'm going to call a spade a spade. Let's just be honest. Justin Jefferson is dealing with the same thing. You have to pay attention to this. AC joints are it's a complicated injury because at the end of the day, you're really just going to be managing how much pain you can deal with and how much you're going to be able to go because I don't really feel like it's going to be able to heal throughout the course of a season. Now, I could be totally just skeptical and not trusting the training staff and all of that. Because medicine has evolved, and we've seen sports medicine evolve over the last couple of years, specifically in the NFL. And we see the timetables for injuries getting shorter and shorter and shorter. But this makes me nervous. Why? Because T.J. Hawkinson is pretty much going to be the featured guy in this offense with Jared Goff, and I think it's going to be a new regime with Dan Campbell at the helm and him having former coaches and/or coordinators that he already that already have success or have been in the league for a while. So it's not like a coaching staff that's not well put together. They know what their issues are going to be, and they know what their strengths are. And I think that their strengths are going to be playing keep away as much as possible. Now, DeAndre Swift is dealing with his own injuries, and I'll probably get to that later on in the show. But TJ Hawkinson is probably going to be the leading target getter of this offense, and I can see Tyrell Williams being a play for top targets. We can see Cephas getting into play for top targets. Let's just be real. DeAndre Swift, I'm not really high on him right now, but he can still very well get targets. And that's just a little bit because Kenny Galladay is not there. Marvin Jones is not there no more. Danny Amendola is no longer there. And that's just to name three. Like the targets have opened up, and to be honest, their quarterback is not even there. And I feel certain type of ways about Matt Stafford, but it's not going to change me from just keeping it a buck with you and telling you that not only is T.J. Hawkinson having me worried right now, but it's so far that he was dealing with injuries last year. It just makes me nervous even going into the season that he's already dealing with another injury, and we're sitting here taking him over the Robert Tyons of the world. We're sitting here taking him over Gronk. We're sitting here taking him over Jonnu Smith or Hunter Henry, and we're just happy about it. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel confident, and I'd rather wait, wait, because in order for that reward to pay out for drafting him in that 5 through 7 range, it's gonna take a pretty dang good season, probably like a top 5 tight end season. And to me, T.J. Hawkinson is not a top 5 tight end, at least not this year. Fact or fiction? Is T.J. Hawkinson gonna be ready for Week 1? My guess, and I hate to do this, but I say fiction. I say that he's out Week 1, and this whole Lions situation might just be a mess to start the season. Maybe for the whole season. Who knows? And last but not least, we talk about Saquon. Good nickname. I had to stat at Basic Boy Smith. Oh man, what's your thoughts on Jared Goofball and Fantasy Moon? Let me get to that before I move on to the next person on the radar for Fact or Fiction. Jared Goff is in an interesting situation because all we ever really seen him do is hold on to the football a long time. Because the way Sean McVay's offense was, it stretched the field. Like, he ran a lot of four verticals and have underneath routes, a lot of like motions with Robert Woods. He always had the safety blankets of Cooper Kupp when he was healthy. He didn't have him really at his full strength last year. Robert Woods, yeah. But Jared Goff got baptized by fire last year, let's be honest. I don't think that they figured Jared Goff out. I think that they figured out the McVay system and what he likes to do. Because they didn't really have a strong running game until really when Cam Akers broke through later in the year. I get Malcolm Brown was, decent for them. I get Darrell Henderson was okay for them. But they didn't have that bell cow or that dominant running game until they got to the playoffs. Now, we saw them fold in Lambeau Field, but let's just be honest, like, and call a spade a spade. Jared Goff had a good part of them being there in that position, and he didn't play bad. I could talk about Jared Goff's accolades all the time. In fact, I always do. But let's just call a spade a spade. Jared Goff has more playoff wins than Matt Stafford. Jared Goff has more playoff appearances than Matt Stafford. Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl. Matt Stafford doesn't even know what a Super Bowl smells like. He doesn't even know what that atmosphere feels like. Jared Goff has been through a lot of stuff in his short career. He is not Josh Rosen. I think people are kind of getting a little bit too loose with the tongue, trying to make it seem like Jared Goff is like in this Josh Rosen type of mentality. And yes, I know that he's on my Falcons, so pray for me. But Jared Goff is still quality. And would I like to have him as my quarterback? Yeah, because he got a dog in him. He has an inner dog with him. Now that thumb injury last year was brutal. It couldn't come at a worse time. And I think it was Sean McVay losing trust in Jared Goff more than it was, him getting exploited or exposed. Because his numbers wasn't bad. If you compare Jared Goff's numbers last year to Daniel Jones, you'll be like, "Oh my gosh, is this Kyler Murray? Is this Matt Ryan? Is this Ryan Tannehill?" Like, and it's not because of rushing numbers, but just volume, passing, accuracy. So Jared Goff is not bad, and actually, I think he could be a steal. He's gonna be somebody that's left on your waiver wire, but look at Jared Goff this year as the Ryan Fitzpatrick of all previous years, where he's a player that you can use depending on the matchup, and he just might just bust out and get you 20 points. It might help you win a week. He might be a perfect streaming candidate this year, depending on matchups. Would I tell you to draft him on your roster? Not unless you're in a dynasty league and quarterbacks are premium. You need a quarterback, especially since he's so young. I would say take it, but if you're not, then you can just get him off the waiver wire. I would say veteran quarterback Josh Rosen. Coming up next, last but not least, on Fact or Fiction, we have Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley on Thursday, August 22nd, saw his first live drill action of the preseason as he took 8 reps, including 3 receptions, in a joint practice with the New England Patriots, which is a great sign. He was wearing a red non-contact jersey, but he said he felt good afterwards. Now, this is a positive step for Saquon Barkley, let's just be honest. But the reason why I'm feeling skeptical is because of head coach Joe Judge, and he said that he wants to see the running game engage in some live contact before he can play in a regular season game. So if Saquon does not play in this game on Sunday against the Patriots, then it makes me very hesitant if Saquon is going to actually start week 1. Now, I know there'll be some time in between for them to rest up, but he said, I just told you that he said he wants to see them have some live contact before he can play in a regular season game. So that's going to probably have to come through practice or through a game. The game will be out of the window. Practice will be the only option. So in reality, that's the reason why Saquon Barkley's ADP has started to fall. Before, he was probably like in the top 5 as ADP. Now he's going like in the back end of round 1. In pretty much all formats besides Superflex. Even Superflex, he's going like round 2, depending on how many teams is in the league. But let's just be honest. I would still rather take Saquon because I'm looking ahead towards fantasy football championship time instead of looking so caught up in like where we are right now in the season. Right now, I know people are fading him, but Saquon is still Saquon. I like the Giants' approach about being patient with him and not rushing him back. But if we have to give a prediction and I have to say fact or fiction, does Saquon Barkley live up to his ADP? It's going to be hard. He's supposed to be scheduled to get 278 points. So that is like RB top. That's like top 6 Top seven? No. Wait, let me reorder it. Let me reorder it by position. So I'm gonna go running back. He's scheduled to be the three, four, five, six, seven. Running back seven this year. Does he live up to running back seven? My gut says yes. My gut says yes. Daniel Bryan, yes. Like all the way. Um and I wouldn't feel hesitant. The reason why, because they are being cautious with him. You know what I'm saying? They understand that the season is 17 games now. They understand that a healthy Saquon Barkley later on in the year can help us because they have all the pieces. We expect this offense to be better. Galladay is there, Sterling Shepard, even though he was over there dodging left hooks and everything in that fight, or what looked like a fight. They got Evan Ingram, who's still there, who I'm not just pushing off to the wayside. And I have some weapons, Kadarius Toney, um, just to name a few. It's weapons there. It's just up to Daniel Jones, and it's not really up to Saquon. I think Saquon is going to be him. So that's the news and notes presented to you by the Huddle website that I use to keep up with all things fantasy football for all positions all across the board. Make sure you check them out. And this is Fantasy Vibes. Coming up next, we have the main enchilada, the big course, the main course, and that is the mock draft. We're gonna be drafting, and I'm gonna tell you one of my strategies. Y'all gonna help me pick the position that I start off with, and I'm gonna go round by round and give you my strategy and what I do. 15 rounds, and all of that is coming up next on Fantasy Vibes. Now, before we go, I need to let you know that this show is sponsored by Real Ones Productions. Make sure you check us out on all of our socials to my right and probably to your right too. Loyalty, brotherhood, and love of content creation. You can see that all transpiring on our website at realonesproductions.com. That is realonesproductions.com. And also, make sure you check out our YouTube as well, which is going crazy, at Real Ones Productions. You can find the highlights of all the fire players just getting it popping in the preseason. We'll be back after this short break. And until then, ponder on this. Who is the only running back besides Alvin Kamara to get 100 targets last year in the NFL? Who was the only running back to get 100 targets in the NFL last year as a running back, other than Alvin Kamara? We'll reveal the answer right after this. Nah, you had it close. You had it close. It's I'm not gonna tell you the answer you just said. Yo, what's wavy, Brad? What's wavy, Watson Ames? Shout out to the community out there. Yeah, I'm doing fantasy this year. We just extending what we was doing last year with fantasy vibes. I'm gonna be streaming my content on here and also putting it on YouTube as well. So make sure you keep a lock for it, and also check out the podcast at Fantasy Vibes on podcast, all podcast platforms, and you'll see my big head up there with the artwork done by yours truly, the best graphic designer in the nation, in the world, A Steezy, down below in the chat. Now, coming up next, I told you that we were going to get into the mock draft, so I'm about to start. But before we do, the question that I gave you before we left was, who was the only running back outside of Alvin Kamara to have 100 targets on the season? The answer is not James White, although that was a great guess. The answer is not Naeem Hines, although that is a great guess. You know Naeem Hines? I found this out today, and I could be tripping. I, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's only 24. So he's still fairly young, like very young. I don't know why in my mind I thought Naeem Hines was like older. Like he's very young, and Marlon Mack, to be exact, is actually only 25. So Jonathan Taylor is actually the young one in the bunch. But that Colts backfield, nah, I don't know how I feel about it. Gaskin? Nah, it's not Gaskin. Hey, ding 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 ding. Hey, shout out to LL Cool, Brad. Hey, look at you, Brad. Congratulations. The answer is J.D. McKissick. J.D. McKissick was the only running back last year outside of Alvin Kamara to average 100 targets. Fun fact, the more you know, the more that you grow. And the reason why this is important and the reason why you need to decipher this as good information is because of this. Antonio Gibson this year is probably going to get the first and the second down work. What he does in that first and second down work is going to be crucial to his fantasy output this year because so far in this preseason, we have seen him not even be on the field. I want to stress that. Him not even really be on the field for third down work. So, you know what that means. J.D. McKissick, he comes in and he gets busy on third downs as a route runner, as a pass catcher, and he is going to have value this year. So J.D. McKissick is actually going probably in the back end of drafts. He's like running back. He's so far down here. People like Naeem Hines is ranked above him. Kenny Gainwell on the Eagles is ranked above him. Freaking James White is ranked above him. Ramondre Stevenson is ranked above J.D. McKissick, and he might be one of the best sleepers that you can even hope for. Just ask Jalen. Jalen had him on his team last year, and ask him how clutch ask him how clutch your boy J.D. McKissick came in for him. That is what's going on with that fun fact for you. This is Fantasy Vibes, hosted by Moon. And we get into the show, the rest of the show. But before we do, I gotta give a special shout out to Isaac B10K with the host. Appreciate you. And Hoss00312 with the follow. Thank you. Welcome to the community and welcome to this fire content. Yes, sir. You got it. So Brad's just first guess is McKissick, Brad. You ain't got to Google up. Hey, he took a long time to put a guess out there. I swear Naeem Hines receives more than runs the ball. Yeah, he does. And I don't know if you remember it. Last year, Naeem Hines actually had to me it was his breakout game when he played the Titans on Thursday Night Football, and it was in Tennessee, and they like went to work on Tennessee. And it was because of Naeem Hines and Jonathan Taylor couldn't get anything going, especially earlier in the year. And Naeem Hines was what was saving the Colts. So like his value is still there. I'm not really under the impression that like Frank Reich is so in love with and enamored with Jonathan Taylor that he's not going to let these other backs at least get some type of shine. So real clutch because I just picked him with nothing but hope. Just nothing but hope. And he ended up coming through clutch with you. Coming up next in the show, we got the main enchilada, the main entree. So sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself. Tell a friend to come pull up and watch Fantasy Vibes. And we're going to help you win your championships this year. Why? Because it's not about the information that you know. It's about how you decipher that information. And so you can figure out what is truth and what is the whole truth. So let's get straight to it. Let's take you to the next screen. There you see Sleeper. Now I know you're probably like, now I know you might probably like, all right, well, Moon, why you got this junk looking in white? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We got questions coming in from the chat. What's the outlook on Burrow and Chase? Currently, Burrow is ranked like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 14, 15, 16, 17. He's ranked quarterback 17, which is crazy because they got Trey Lance ranked ahead of him. They got Tannehill ranked ahead of him, which is deserved. Brady should be ahead of him. Trevor Lawrence, I'm a little down on. Matt Stafford, I think Matt Stafford is a bust. I'm sorry. I'm going to feel that way. And Daniel Jones. So he's right above Daniel Jones, Fitzpatrick, Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is ranked too low for sure. Baker Mayfield is ranked too low. Sam Darnold, I'm not high on at all this year. Derek Carr is way too low. I feel like he doesn't get the credit that he deserves. But the answer in the question right now is for Burrow. Burrow is ranked quarterback 17. Does he finish above that? I'd say yeah, because you got 3 wide receivers that are going to be lit. We got T Higgins, who's the number one in my personal opinion. He could very well potentially finish in that top 24, and will be like I will be happy. I'm not gonna go as far as say he'll be a wide receiver one, so he finishes like in 1 through 12. But I'll say T Higgins is the wide receiver from the Bengals that I would take no matter what. Tyler Boyd is right back after him because he just has the most experience, and to be honest, like he's sexy in the slot. Like, and not a lot of people understand how dynamic that Tyler Boyd is when he's playing in the slot. So for me to you, it's T Higgins, Tyler Boyd, then Jamar Chase. I've been saying this, and it's not a knock against Jamar Chase. It's just me being so in love with T Higgins and Tyler Boyd on his offense. Chase is the wide receiver three on his own team, and if you count in Auden Tate, he might be wide receiver number four because Auden Tate got busy last year in the times that he got in. So I'm just saying, if we looking at low lock, Jamar Chase, he could finish wide receiver two at most to me, but I'd have him in that wide receiver three range. So he finishing like 25 through 36 range. Yeah, 25 through 36 ish range. That's how I have him ranked. Now Burrow, 17 is too low. I would take Burrow. I'm not taking Burrow over Kirk Cousins. I'm sorry. Kirk Cousins is just a dog. But if you can get Burrow in this like late rounds, it's a steal. The only way I see Burrow going high off the board is like literally in super flex leagues, and that's it. In dynasty as well. That's it, Greeny. But other than that, like you could basically get him at the end of your draft and be walking away happy. Why? Because a lot of people are so high on his injury, saying that he's not going to be the same and it's going to take him some time. But look, I mean, this is keep it a buck. This man's volume was through the roof, like in volume like we hadn't really seen before he got hurt. Now they pass the ball a lot, and I don't see that being the case this year. But they're still gonna have to pass because their offensive line is just it's not it's gotten a little bit better. So is their D line, but like it's still what it is. Like I'm not even gonna say they should have drafted Penei Sewell because Penei Sewell has been struggling himself just as well as Jamar Chase. So that's a whole nother conversation that we can have in a whole totally different segment. But I think Joe Burrow is closer to quarterback number 12, 13, 14 than he is quarterback 17, 18, 19. Like, do I rank him in the top 12? No. Could he finish in there? That would be high ceiling. And I would look at it and be like, dang, that's great. But, I mean, that's just my overall outlook on it. We had a UPS worker at punter in that game. No hands chase. I mean, that's what we've been seeing so far. That boy chased me all slate, all state, because he desperately needs good hands. That's a good joke. I remember picking the Titans to win that game. I was really confident we'll win that game too, but we didn't have the punter out there. That game actually would have been different. Yeah, it would have. That's my outlook on Jamar Chase. Now let's get to it. I'm about to actually start this mock draft up. Which slot should I pick from? I'll let you guys choose in the chat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down to 10. Which slot should I draft from? And then I'll give you the optimum strategy from that slot on this episode, and we'll make it work like that. And again, this episode is sponsored by Real Ones Productions. Make sure you're checking us out on all of our social platforms. And stay connected with the wave because we got a lot of content coming. And also, tune in tomorrow on R1P on Twitch and on YouTube. It's going to be going live for college football starting opening day. And, bro, it's going to be a movie. You don't want to miss it. Don't want to miss it. Shameless plug. What slide am I going with? Because right now I'm about to randomize a number. Randomize. Let's see. I already know which one. I'm going to go with number 7. I'm going to be pick 7 in this draft. Now, this is a non-super flex draft. This is, yeah, non-super flex. But we're about to get into it. And, yeah, I'm not going to even do the most. Non-super flex draft. Let's go. Let's get it popping. Now, I'm going to be explaining my picks as I go through and why I chose to avoid certain players and why I chose to do certain players and pick them. And I'm going to give you my strategy as I go. Now, this is the 1-7 strategy. I've done a lot of mock drafts, and this is what I think that would, get you a winning championship roster during this league. Now, some of it's gonna be, I'm gonna be mostly going towards ceiling. I'm gonna go for ceiling plays. Like I'm looking at the ceiling, not draft them at their floor. But like looking like okay, who can have the biggest breakout this year at their position, at the price? Do I want to pay it? Do I not? Do I want to avoid? So let's get it started. And you tune in and watch your fantasy vibes. So as we see, it's not really anything too out of the ordinary so far. Um, is there any way I can pause my pick? No. So I got a minute, 50 seconds to explain why I'm gonna go with this player. All right. So right around this range, you got Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, Zeke, Devontae Adams, Travis Kelsey, Aaron Jones, Stephon Diggs, Austin Eckler in this range. To be honest, the one that I'm looking at the most is probably Zeke and JT. I know it would be tempting. It would be very tempting to go Devontae Adams right here in this slot right here, just because I feel like he's the number one wide receiver off the board. Somebody went ahead and rent and reached for him, reached for Tyreek Hill, and Team Five did, and he went took him five, and I think that's very risky. Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelsey have been the locks on their team for targets, volume. They made Alex Smith the number one deep ball passer in the league in his last starting season with the Kansas City Chiefs. So it's not really a surprise that although Patrick Mahomes is great, it's not really a surprise that he's doing what he's doing. But I just think that they're too dependent on Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelsey. And people value Kelsey like he has like 100 years left in the game, when he could be closer to his back end than we give credit for. So because Saquon has already gone off the board, the only logical one that I would say in my book that would really be like upside all the way would be this guy, and I'm going with him at the core. Um, yeah, I'm going with Jonathan Taylor. Now, I did that for a number of reasons. Jonathan Taylor, if we're just saying that he does get the full workload that we're giving him, then hey, it's a win for me. Because that's exactly what I'm looking for. Like roof, ceiling, high value. If this was Dynasty, I would feel even greater about that pick. But now, you see the running backs that went after him. Getting Zeke at team 9, got Zeke at pick number 9, that's a steal. What I want to take Zeke, I'm not sure about what Dak's injury is, so that's the reason. Another reason why I didn't take Zeke there. Like I'm not really sure about Dak. Now, if all could be fine in the hood, and I could be totally wrong, but that situation has been kind of complicated. And in the games that we've seen Zeke and Dak play, Zeke is just better. He's just better. Jonathan Taylor, you have one of the best offensive lines of football. That is not something to just sweep under the rug. He looks more explosive. He looks more decisive. He looks more elusive. He looks like he is primed for the workload of an RB1. So if I can get him as my RB1, I love it. I really do. Um, Now we in a range. We got 47 seconds left. I'm looking at this range and I'm like, okay, we got Arthur Juan. We got Joe Mixon, who I'm passing on. D Hop could very well be like a top 3 wide receiver this year. Could be wide receiver number 1. Najee could be another pick right here. But I'm honestly passing on Travis Kelsey because I don't want to take a tight end this early, even if it would put me over the top. Patrick Mahomes, I'm not taking a quarterback this early just because I don't really trust it. And the only one that really makes sense is probably DK or Calvin. And I think which one has a better chance to lead the league and be a wide receiver 1? I'm going to go Calvin Ridley right here. So I know it's higher than what people say, but I have Calvin Ridley ranked as my wide receiver number 3. no, 4 this year. So I just look at that as a steal. And as you can see, Hopkins went after him. Kelsey went after me and picked 6. 7-7 was Metcalf. Najee went with Alvin Kamara, so their team's kind of looking fire. Alvin Kamara, workload. Harris, Jefferson. Patrick Mahomes went to McCaffrey's team with George Kittle. Now this team one took 3 running backs: Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, Gibson. Gibson and Mixon have a chance to bust. All 3 of them have a chance to bust, to be honest. So I don't know how safe that is, but going to 3 running back strategy, I did that last year. I took 4 quarter running backs, and only 2 of them ended up being on my roster at the end of the season. So it's a risk. Now coming up, we in a range where we could very well knock it out of the park here, and we need volume. I've been talking about this guy for a very long season or a very long time, and I'm very high on him. I'm very high on him. Um, yeah, Marlon Mack is gonna come back, but I just don't. I'm telling you, I'm looking at upside. Like if Marlon Mack does not eat at his carries like that, then I still feel like he's still playing behind one of the best offensive lines in football, and they're gonna run the ball a lot. So I don't know how much they trust Carson Wentz. Um, we got 34 seconds left. I already got Calvin, so I got my high volume upside. Now it's time to and I already got Jonathan Taylor. But the reason why I can't take a Jonathan Taylor here that has like maybe a higher floor with the chance of higher upside, I can take a player like a Waller, maybe, Terry McLaurin to add in, A Rob. But it only makes sense to add another running back to my board in this range that I really love, and his name is J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins has a chance to really be special this year for the Baltimore Ravens. You leading the league's leading rushing attack. He's a number 1 running back. Gus Edwards is still there, but I don't see him being nearly the player as J.K. Dobbins is. I love the fact that Harbaugh was patient with J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins did not start a lot of games last year at all. In fact, I put out some stats on him, but he's one of my favorite players to watch for this season, just because I think he has more than a chance, more than an opportunity to pass on upside. And his floor is not as low as people make it seem, because they say, well, hey, look, it's passing volume. Are the Ravens going to pass the ball a lot? Are they going to, are they going to, are they going to pass the ball a lot? I think they'll pass the ball more. They can still lead the league in rushing and still pass the ball a little slightly more. So instead of going like 80-20 or 75-25, they can be at 60-40 and still, have J.K. Dobbins be effective. But I think increased work in the passing game, and I think also, him just being a number 1 alpha, and with him being a stud out of college and now where he is now, he has all the makings to be a RB1 this year. So I would have 2 RB1s potentially on my team, with possibly a receiver that could have the upside of being a number 1 wide receiver in fantasy. Calvin Ridley. Now, how do I add to my roster and make it even more sexy? I could easily take Julio. I could take Kyle Pitts too. Maybe even Lamar Jackson. David Montgomery is who I would be looking at in this range. But, I mean, it just makes sense, right? It just makes sense for me to add. I got the risky play of Calvin Ridley. Let me add another. Well, Calvin Ridley is not really risky to me, but he has a higher floor. Let me add some high upside on my team and add Terry McLaurin to my team as well. Now, Fitz is coming into this Washington football team, and he could be a bust. He could be just trash. Who knows? We never know what we can expect from Fitzpatrick. However, what I've seen in preseason, what I've seen in training camp so far, they have a good rapport and they have a good chemistry. Terry McLaurin is a good route runner. I count on him to be finishing that wide receiver 1, high wide receiver 2 range. So like anywhere between 10 and like 14, 15. And even if he hits on that, that's still going to be a good complementary piece with Calvin Ridley. So I got 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers already starting it off. Now we get to the next round. Do we take quarterback here or do we wait? Russell Wilson finishes the quarterback number 4 last year. I would have, but honestly, taking Lamar would have not been smart on my part because when you look at the receivers in this range, Robert Woods, Robert Woods has been productive, but he, I would pair him. I could pair him with Calvin Ridley or DJ Moore possibly, but I just don't trust Sam Darnold this year. Thielen might be the most underrated receiver right now in fantasy football. Just because people are looking at him and his touchdowns coming in the red zone last year. A lot of his touchdowns coming in the red zone last year. You got Jamar Chase in this range, TJ Hawkinson, Miles Gaskin. I could wait on Herbert. I could wait on the Dorgan Duck. I could wait on Dak if I really wanted to. I could wait on Deontay. Who would make sense here? Not taking a running back. Um, but my gut is actually telling me to go with what's safe, what's familiar to me in this flex league, and that is taking a risk and going DJ Moore. Um, DJ Moore is another potential upside play, and that's what I'm leaning for in this strategy that I'm doing. Now I knew that Tyler Lockett and Robert Woods were probably going to go in this range as well because if you look at this tier, we have CD Lamb, Cooper going ahead. I personally rank Cooper ahead of CD Lamb. I'm not one to think that CD Lamb is better than Amari Cooper. But speaking of another Cooper, I'm taking Cooper Cup over Robert Woods every time. Why? Because Cooper Cup just always seems to get open. Daryl Henderson this high, it's risky. And could it play off? He's right there before that RB dead range, dead zone that we like to call it. But if we're just calling a spade, Godwin could definitely be better than he was last year, but he dealt with injuries. DJ Moore was probably the most impressive to me of a wide receiver who didn't finish with like crazy stats or couldn't, but he has all the makings of a potential wide receiver one on my team. That's the theme between Ridley, McLaurin, and DJ Moore. I can all see them being in that wide receiver one potential category. Calvin Ridley for sure, but Terry McLaurin, they have the upside to be able to do it, and that's what I'm searching for in this draft strategy. Upside picks. I want high upside, and when I talk about high upside, then we get to this next round of, and this is where it kind of gets interesting because if you go to running backs, the running backs that you have off the board is Kareem Hunt, James Robinson, Javonte Williams, Mike Davis, Chase Edmonds. The ones that's going in consideration right now is James Robinson and Kareem Hunt. I'm in a situation where I just would just be smart and I'm gonna take running back and I'm gonna take Robinson and I'm just gonna wait on quarterback and get my last running back at least for this round. So I'm 3-3, three running backs, three wide receivers. Now, as you see, Herbert, he went directly after my pick. 4 picks later, we had Thielen, Chase, Deontay Johnson, which is probably one of my favorite wide receivers in this draft. Brandon Ayuk. Then you got Michael Thomas, slant boy, who went 7-1, which is incredibly too low. Michael Thomas could easily be in this range up here. He should. But because of, injuries and people's concern, they're not taking him right there, as you shouldn't. You should wait. But I've seen him fall even further in drafts, even down to like round 10, round 11, just because. Now, Williams, Higgins, another one of receivers that I like, they're going in that same range. But we saw 3 quarterbacks go in that turn. This led me to what I was talking to you about. Now, if you're still in here, Greeny, this is what I'm saying. I could literally build my roster like this and have the positions there like I want it and still get a Tom Brady who could throw for 40 touchdowns. Still get a Trevor Lawrence who could add in the rushing floor can be increased. I'm not touching Matt Stafford. Ryan Tannehill is a damn good fantasy option. Joe Burrow is too. Jalen Hurts is well. So this range is not as bad, and I would take Burrow, Hurts, Tannehill, even Trevor Lawrence, and maybe even Brady too. In this range, if I wanted to go quarterback, but I'm not feeling quarterback right now, and I'm actually not even feeling tight end just yet. I'm gonna wait on that, but I think a guy that I've been waiting to get to, and I think that's just gonna break out in this one, is Devontae Smith. I'm gonna go Devontae Smith here. I could have went Odell. Let's just be honest. Herbert's not on the board yet. But with Devontae, he's another upside pick, but just as a rookie. I wanted to chase that in this draft. Now I could easily, as I told you, Brady was gonna go in that. Mike Davis is another running back that I could have had, but I would rather have James Robinson than Mike Davis. I would rather have James Robinson than Miles Gaskin. I would rather have James Robinson than Daryl Henderson, to be honest, or Kareem Hunt, or Javante Williams. So, I'm looking at this range and I'm like, I think I got the best running back available in this range, like here. Because there was only one, two, three, four, five, six that went in the last 3 rounds. If I look at that and I compare them, which situation is the best? Well, Travis Etienne's injury, it's kind of self-explanatory. I'd rather have him. You know what I'm saying? So this is where we can get in our bag and keep adding, or we can say to ourselves, you know, hey, Moon, do you want to go QB right now? Is it time to go? Because I feel like it's a long turn before we get back here, and each one of these teams already have a quarterback, so I don't see them drafting another quarterback. This team, yeah, all of these teams have a quarterback besides me. Yeah, and I waited, so I'm gonna wait on quarterback, and I'm targeting a Joe Burrow or a Jalen Hurts, maybe even a Tannehill. But if they happen to go off my board, I will be happy to take a Kirk Cousins, happy to take a Zach Wilson, even take Big Ben. I don't care, but I'm not reaching for quarterback this year. And I know it's hard, but I'm not. Then we get to this running back crew. I want to get a running back in this red dead zone, and the only one that I'm looking at that possibly may have that volume that I'm looking for is probably Chase Edmonds from the Arizona Cardinals. So I'm gonna add him to my roster. Chase Edmonds, you know, I'm I had to learn the hard way about Chase Edmonds last year and the year before. Like he came in clutch for my fantasy team, and now he's in a position where I want to add him on my roster just because that range. We call this the running back dead zone, where Damian Harris, James Conner, Kenyon Drake, David Johnson, Zach Moss, A.J. Dillon, Devin Singletary, Naeem Hines, Gus Edwards, all these running backs you're not really sure about. A.J. Dillon, you will hope to see some workload. He'd probably be one of the best options right now. In fact, I kind of might take A.J. Dillon here. But I'm so high on Damian Harris right now that it's kind of hard for me to pass up. But let me go back to my wide receivers. My tight ends. Dallas Goedert's still there. Mike Gesicki is still there. I love Mike Gesicki this year. I'm in love with Gronk this year. Gronk has been looking amazing in camp. But my pick, my sleeper, is still there too. And I can honestly wait. You can get a tight end like Jonnu Smith late in the draft. You don't have to reach for tight ends. And I know they say, well, if you don't have the top 5 tight ends or the top 3, then you're out of luck. That's not necessarily true. Because the gaps between, if you look at the splits and you look at the numbers, the gaps between tight ends 4 through 12 was only separate. Well, 4 through 9 was only separated by a couple of fantasy points, less than 10, really. So I can wait on that. I'm still have receivers on my board that I'm interested in. Jarvis Landry could be a sleeper this year for me and my team. I'm high on Jarvis Landry. He can easily get you 1,000 yards. Cooksey is still there on the board. Laviska Chenault is there on the board. But with the recent news and what I've been telling you about, the recent news going, I'm actually going to wait on running back. One wide receiver, and I'm going to go with my gut. And my gut is to get Damian Harris because I know for a fact that he's not going to be there by the time I get back. And that worked out perfectly. because just like I expected, Landry, Cooks, Brown, Antonio Brown going right here in the ninth round is a gem. I was tempted to take Tyler Boyd just because I was telling you he's wide receiver two in my eyes. But I mean, I personally am not mad with my roster. If I go to looking at my actual team, looking at my roster right here, you got Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, Calvin Ridley, Terry McLaurin. Then my flexes are James Robinson and DJ Moore. I'm loving that. And I know I don't have a quarterback right now, and I know I don't have a tight end, but I'm going to make it all work. We got Devontae Smith on my bench. I wanted me to have a share of Devontae Smith. Chase Edmonds and Damian Harris could be on my bench as well. I'm tempted to add another running back, but I don't really have the space or capacity to. And if I have those as my four running backs, five, then I'm set for the season. I'm using this also as leverage in trades because I can use Chase Edmonds if he pops off, or Damian Harris or James Robinson as players that I can use in my board to say, okay, let me put these in trade pieces and see how much I can get to get another a better quarterback or get a Lamar. If I was team six, I would say, hey, I'll give you James Robinson and Damian Harris to get Lamar Jackson, and I'll throw in my backup quarterback or something. I'll try to toss that trade offer out, just because I don't feel like it would necessarily hurt me because I still would have Chase Edmonds and I would still have J.K. and Jonathan Taylor. But I'm trading not only for upside, but for upside and potential trades as well. So you got to factor that in. The next person that's coming off my board right now is probably going to be Laviska Shenault because I'm high on him this year. The news of Travis Etienne being out just kind of solidified everything for me for the guy. But dang, now we're in a situation where it worked out for me. Now I could have went running back. I could have went quarterback there, and luckily the guy that I want is still there, and it worked out perfectly. But as you see in this late rounds, this is round 10. Ryan Tannehill is going in round 10. Trevor Lawrence round 11. Joe Burrow round 11. Matt Stafford round 11. My guy Bob Tyan round 11. This is ridiculous. Players that I'm high on in this range, of course Elijah Moore, Darnell Mooney. I'm interested to see what Curtis Samuel does this year, but I know that he's dealing with some injuries already. Same with Mike Williams, who should get an expanded workload this year with Justin Herbert. But none of these wide receivers I want to take right now. And maybe I'm on Ross St. Brown, Rondale Moore, Russell Gage possibly, Devontae Parker, Jacoby Myers, Marquez Galloway. I can wait for another wide receiver, but I'm set at that position. If I look at my wide receivers now, and it's Ridley, McLaurin, DJ Moore, Devontae Smith, and Shenault, I'm loving that because I have tiers of wide receivers on my board now that I just look at and say they have high upside in order to have their breakout year this year. But this is just setting up perfectly, and it's too hard to avoid. So I waited all the way to the 11th round to get my guy that could possibly be a top 12 quarterback this year, and his name is Jalen Hurts. He fell right into my lap, and it kind of worked out perfectly. So my team is really starting to take that next leap. Jalen Hurts gives me high value when it comes to rushing upside. So that's the reason why I can take a Jonathan Taylor in the first round or a J.K. Dobbins in the third. Because I know that even if Marlon Mack does take away from rushes, I know that Jalen Hurts can make up for that and give me some type of rushing production more than a Matt Ryan or more than a Kirk Cousins or even a Tua. Because I would like to have those players on my team, but those are like bottom. I don't really have to reach for those guys. And I didn't reach for a quarterback. And I know CZ was like, you should have took Lamar. I could have. But instead, I took a poor man's Lamar and took Jalen Hurts. And I'm solid with that. I'm set, and I feel good about that. Now, this running back range, we're just talking about some of these running backs. Naeem Hines, to be exact. J.D. McKissick is still there. I'm down on Latavius Murray just because I feel as if he is this third running back behind Jones Jr. in New Orleans, and they actually came out and said that. Philip Lindsay is looking like the lead back in Houston. Jamal Williams could very well see an increased workload if DeAndre Swift has anything happen to him. Poor Tony Pollard, I don't even see you touching the field really, unless it's like if Zeke needs a water break. Gus Edwards has value in this offense with the Ravens, but like I said, I could do like a stack of J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, but I don't really feel like I need to. I still need a tight end on my board, and right now, I think I'm gonna go with upside as well, and I'm gonna go with hmm, yep, just trust your gut. I'm not sold on Tyler Higbee at all, and I'm not sold on Tyler Higbee, so I'm going Irv Smith of the Minnesota Vikings, who has been getting a lot of praise lately, and I understand that his role is supposed to expand this year, but that's the theme for everybody that I drafted. Everybody that I drafted is so far has been in a position where they are going to see increased workloads and they have the potential to hit and hit hard this year. So I'm not going to chase after players in this year's draft. I'm literally going to do whatever comes to me. So if I go back down my picks, I'll tell you what I did. Um, and look at my team alone. I took Jonathan Taylor round one, pick 7. Pick 2-4, I took Calvin Ridley. J.K. Dobbins, I took pick 3-7. Then I did a double stack of wide receivers with Terry McLaurin of the Washington football team, and DJ Moore of the Carolina Panthers at the 4-4 and 5-7. Then I took James Robinson, 6-4. I had a choice between Odell, Jalen Waddle, Debo Samuel, Corey Davis. Um, yeah, I had Corey Davis right here between Lavicia Chenault. But I chose to take Devontae Smith. I just think that he's gonna ball out this year, and he's gonna. I wanted to have a stack with Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith on my team at the same time. And this is a mock draft, so nothing is set in stone. Then I took Chase Edmonds in the running back dead zone, which is totally frowned upon, but I'm gonna take him anyway. Damian Harris as well, who I'm high on this year, especially with the release of with the trade of Sonny Michel. We got Laviska Shenault, who is going to get an increased workload, especially with Travis Etienne being down right now, out for the season. And they're going to use him all over the field. He's already getting a lot of work, and he's probably the most physical specimen in that wide receiver core, even though Marvin Jones is probably their wide receiver number 1 right now on their team. You got Jalen Hurts, who I took in the 11th round. I waited all the way to the 11th round to get a quarterback. Irv Smith, I waited to the 12th round to get a tight end. And then I took the Rams defense, Elijah Moore, and Jacob Myers to round out the team. Now, tell me what you think. And who you're sold on, who you're not so sold on, and we can wrap it up like that. And I'll let you see the picks one more time. My favorite pick of this draft though was taking Calvin Ridley 2-4. Not because I'm a Falcons fan, but because I just feel like Calvin Ridley, if I just look at this team and I go back to the receivers that's in this board at that range, that basically makes Calvin Ridley the wide receiver 4 this year. And that's right on par with what I have him as. Metcalf in this offense in Seattle, I don't know, bro. I really don't know. Even A.J. Brown, as good as he is, these knee issues bother me. And I know he played hurt last year, but they bother me. The AC joint with Justin Jefferson bothers me. Like, Allen Robinson getting 150 targets, but playing with Anthony Dalton. That bothers me. Keenan Allen, he probably might be a receiver that I could have waited on. But he got taken right before it, so it kind of messed up the plan. But I took J.K. Dobbins in round 3. Calvin Ridley, though, I have him right around that par. And if I have the number 6 running back in the league being Jonathan Taylor, then I'm happy with that. The player that I could have been bolder with is probably taking Zeke at this spot. But I'm not high on the Cowboys offensive line versus the Indianapolis Colts offensive line. So that's ultimately what weighed into my decision. The steal of this draft for me was probably James Robinson at 6'4", because he very well could be in his top range up here with these running backs. I see him in like right behind Chris Carson, Daryl Henderson, Josh Jacobs range, right before we get to Kareem Hunt. So he could be up there. Miles Gaskin could be in that range too. But the running back dead zone, what I was speaking about earlier, is this range right here, where you got Daryl Henderson, Hunt, Robinson, Gaskin, Williams, Mike Davis, Michael Carter, Mostert, Chase Edmonds, and the list goes on and on. The reason why they call it the dead zone is because a lot of times players in this range bust or don't really hit their the projected points that they're supposed to get. So I look at it as this: I have a higher chance of really busting in the first round than I do in the sixth round. If you catch my drift, it's greater risk in the first round than it is in the sixth or the 10th. It just looks at the value of the picks. So he's probably my favorite still. And then, of course, Jalen Hurts at pick 11. Round 11, pick 7. That's what my favorites are of this draft. Let me know. And I'll go back to the main screen. And this is Fantasy Vibes, presented by Real Ones Productions. And that is my mock draft. Tannehill was available all the way up until the 11th. No, he came off in the 10th round. Pick 10-10. You could wait for Tua. Definitely wait for Tua. You have to also temper your expectations too, just because, like, he is more of a short volume type of Drew Brees type of passer. And he doesn't have a higher rushing floor than some of the other quarterbacks, like a Jalen Hurts or a Dak Prescott or even like a Ryan Tannehill. But I think Tua is a great option, especially late. And to be honest, he didn't even get drafted, so you can really pick him up on the waiver wire. So what I really could do is say, man, bump you Elijah Moore. I'm gonna take a backup quarterback and pick up Tua. Because let me go back to my board again. Oh dang, they won't let me see the remaining players. I wish I could see the remaining players. But Tua is still on the board. Zach Wilson is still on the board. Who else do we have? Matt Ryan is still on the board. Jameis Winston is still on the board. So you definitely don't have to draft a quarterback right away. Calvin Ridley is a great pick. I don't know why, but I'm just not sold on Devontae Smith. If I'm being totally honest, I think that's one of the riskiest picks I made. But I just look at it like this. I'm not taking Kenny Golladay over Devontae Smith. The reason why is just because Kenny Golladay is a possession receiver in an offense with a quarterback that just last year wasn't productive in his total yardage. And yes, he could be more of a benefit in the red zone for the Giants, but I just don't like to put all of that into, how do I say it? I don't like to put all of that on just one player. Like, I'm not about to say, oh, it's Kenny Galladay's fault when he missed the whole year last year. And the last time we saw him, he was lighting it up. But, like, the year before, he had to play with Matt Stafford. So if I look at the jump from Matt Stafford to Daniel Jones, I think it's a drop-off. And I'm not really as high on Daniel Jones as I am this year. So it's like, if I'm not high on Daniel Jones, then how can I really be high on Kenny Golladay? So he's going in that range. Would I take a T. Higgins over a Devontae Smith? Of course. Would I take a Michael Thomas, even though he's dealing with an injury, over Devontae Smith? Of course. I was tempted to go Odell Beckham. If I'll show you the scene again. I was tempted to go Odell Beckham. Right there at 7'9". I'm not really high on DJ Shark. I'd rather have Marvin Jones, and I'd rather have Laviska Shenault. But I was able to get Laviska Shenault at pick 10 and DJ Shark is going 3 rounds ahead of him, which doesn't make sense when Chenault is probably going to be featured way more than Shark is. So that's just how the ADP works sometimes, and it's just like weird. But like another example of it is DJ Moore went in the 5th round, but Robbie Anderson is getting faded to round 8, almost round 9. Same team. We have Cortland Sutton and Jerry Judy going in the same round. Cortland Sutton going before Jerry Judy. Actually, 3 Broncos went in the same round with Noah Fant. Then you got Claypool and Juju, who I would be happy as heck to have Claypool on my team this year. But let's just face it, Deontay Johnson went off the board and picks in round 6 right after Jamar Chase. So I'm looking at it like, you have to, it's risk and reward. This strategy I wanted to unveil was more so a risk on, let me go upside, upside, and shoot for that more than I can any other drafts. Now, this is only the first of many mock drafts that we do for Fantasy Vibes, but I wanted to give y'all the unfiltered version from me, you know. And I think I love my team. If this is my real life team, I would be confident every week, and I would just hope that no injuries happen. So yeah, that's my picks again: Jonathan Taylor, Calvin Ridley, J.K. Dobbins, Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, James Robinson, Devontae Smith, Chase Edmonds, Damian Harris, Laviska Shenault, Jalen Hurts, and Irv Smith. Round out my team. Defenses I don't really care about. Kickers I care about, but it's not really. I always tell people wait till the very last rounds to pick your defense and your kicker. It's not mandatory that you pick them above the last 2 rounds. Wait every time. So that is what we got a chance to work with. So without that, messing with my psyche or me going too far off the radar, that's my mock draft on the very first one for Fantasy Vibes. It's been a great show. We are in the process of launching season 2 of Fantasy Vibes, so make sure you check us out. We're gonna be coming to y'all with some new energy. I'm gonna be joined with my co-host Lever KT very soon, and he's gonna be bringing a whole another side of fantasy football from the analytics side and crossing it over to what we do best. And it's gonna be so great. Aesthetics gonna be amazing, and I'm excited for y'all to see it. If you love this, and make sure you share it with somebody, and check out my podcast, the Fantasy Vibes Podcast, on all platforms that's out there that you can find a podcast. Just search Fantasy Vibes, and you'll see my face up there. And I got 5 episodes out for you. This will be episode 6. I'm actually about to download this and put this on YouTube very soon. It's gonna be up here for Twitch. Check me out soon. I'm about to stream on my account for stream some NCAA football real soon. And for me, Moon Vibes, I send y'all off into y'all day. Hopefully you have some good vibes, and hopefully we gave you a lot of information to help you win your leagues. We talked about fact or fiction today. We talked about my real talk, talking about Jameis versus Taysom. We talked about some of the news that's going on, and we did a mock draft. Very productive stream. Hope you felt the same way. I'm Moon, and this is Fantasy Vibes, presented by Real Ones Productions. Make sure you check us out on all of our socials to our left and down below. And until next time, stay wavy like I always say, and be easy.